Some of these scammers had one job: lie convincingly, and they couldn't even pull it off for 60 seconds. We found 49 of the dumbest, most brain-dead scam attempts in American history, and almost every one collapsed because of the scammer's own dumb mistake before the victim even said a word. A fake surgeon who didn't know what a scalpel was, a guy selling gold bars that stuck to a magnet, a fake cop who used a red Solo cup as his siren, and number 49 will genuinely make you question humanity. Hit that subscribe button right now. This list only gets crazier from here. 1. A sidewalk hustler once built his entire business around fake Rolexes and swore every single piece was completely authentic. Buyers lined up with cash in hand, fully convinced they were getting the deal of a lifetime straight off the street. Someone flipped the box over during the pitch and found a sticker reading "Made in China" stuck right on the bottom near the hinge. The crowd erupted into laughter almost instantly. Instead of quietly backing down, he kept insisting the sticker itself was somehow fake too. That excuse only made people walk away laughing even faster than before. 2. Flashing lights were apparently optional for one wannabe police officer who pulled a total stranger over using a red Solo cup taped to his dashboard as a makeshift siren. The driver sat frozen watching that plastic cup wobble with every single bump along the road. There was no badge anywhere and definitely no real uniform in sight. Just a beat-up Honda Civic and completely unearned confidence radiating from the driver's seat. Neighbors quickly nicknamed him the Solo Cop across town almost overnight. His brief reign as fake law enforcement ended nearly as fast as it started. 3. Somewhere in a scammer's contact list, a fatal mix-up occurred, sending his desperate Nigerian prince loan request straight to his own actual bank instead of a random victim. Bank employees sat stunned, reading a message begging for emergency funds using the exact royal backstory their spam filters normally caught every single day. Nobody there had ever seen a scammer accidentally scam himself before that particular morning. The email got forwarded around the office for laughs long before anyone even considered reporting it to security. 4. Confidence dripped from every word as a street vendor pitched solid gold bars to anyone willing to hand over serious cash without asking questions first. Shiny bars gleamed under streetlights downtown, while buyers admired what looked like a genuine fortune sitting right in front of them. One curious shopper pulled out a small magnet just to check things properly before paying anything at all. The bar snapped straight onto the magnet, instantly proving it was nothing but painted metal underneath. Grabbing his bag, the vendor disappeared into the crowd within seconds flat. 5. Everything about a certain pyramid scheme pitch sounded flawless until one skeptical listener raised her hand during the presentation with a simple, honest question nobody expected. Who exactly sits at the very bottom, buying absolutely nothing from anybody above them? She asked calmly. Silence swallowed the room as the presenter fumbled through vague nonsense answers that satisfied nobody sitting there. Coats got grabbed within minutes as people quietly slipped out the door without saying goodbye to anyone. That entire pitch collapsed faster than anybody could have predicted that evening. 6. Outside a busy seafood restaurant, a charity collector stood holding a bucket labeled "Save the Whales," with a hopeful smile aimed at every passing customer. Shrimp baskets and lobster rolls swung from diners' hands as they dropped coins into a bucket meant to protect the very creatures sitting on their plates. Somebody eventually pointed out the obvious irony loud enough for a small crowd to hear and start laughing. Shrugging it off, the collector kept rattling that bucket anyway, hoping nobody would think twice about it. Business apparently continued just fine despite the awkward contradiction. 7. Threats about arrests and unpaid taxes poured out of a phone scammer claiming to represent the IRS during call after call to strangers. Everything sounded convincing until one sharp victim asked him to simply say the agency name out loud during their conversation. Stumbling over the letters, he completely mangled something that should have been effortless for any real employee. Laughter erupted on the other end of the line within seconds of that fumble happening. Word of the blunder spread across community forums almost immediately afterward, embarrassing him further. 8. Sparkle and bargain prices lured plenty of shoppers toward a jewelry hustler selling rings advertised as genuine diamonds at a fraction of retail cost. Proudly wearing her new ring to a party, one buyer expected compliments all evening from friends and family members nearby. Instead, her finger turned a strange shade of green within minutes under the party lights for everyone to notice. Guests immediately started snapping photos while she rushed toward the bathroom trying to scrub it off quickly. Cheap dyed metal turned out to be all that ring ever really was. 9. Predictions about lottery numbers and lost relationships flowed freely from a self-proclaimed psychic charging strangers for private reading sessions downtown. Confidence radiated from every word until an undercover officer walked in, posing as just another curious customer seeking guidance that afternoon. That particular twist never got seen coming despite claiming to see everything else clearly beforehand. Handcuffs appeared moments later while the crowd outside whispered about the irony of it all happening so publicly. Apparently predicting personal arrests was never part of the advertised skill set. 10. Huge cash prizes were promised by a fake lottery organizer who built an entire operation around strangers paying a small entry fee up front first. Everything ran smoothly until his own hired employee decided to run the exact same trick behind his back without any permission at all. Money vanished from the operation faster than the organizer could track down where it actually went missing. Furious and confused, he eventually realized he had somehow been scammed by his own scam employee. Karma apparently works overtime even inside criminal operations built entirely on lies. 11. Wi-Fi still connected without a second thought, while one counterfeit moneymaker kept printing fake bills from his home office night after night. Investigators traced the printer signal within hours, since it never occurred to him to disconnect anything before running his operation. Officers showed up at his door faster than he could even count his latest batch of bills. Neighbors later admitted they always found his constant printer noise a little suspicious anyway. Turns out modern technology makes terrible criminal partners for anyone attempting old-school scams. 12. Medical credentials were claimed loudly by a man posing as a doctor at a community health fair one weekend. Patients lined up trusting his white coat completely until someone finally asked him to grab his stethoscope for a routine checkup. Digging through his bag for several awkward minutes, he came up completely empty-handed in front of everyone watching. Confused whispers spread through the waiting area as his confident demeanor slowly crumbled apart. Turns out actual doctors generally know exactly where their equipment sits at all times. 13. Invisible ink pens were advertised boldly by a scammer promising secret messages nobody else could ever see or detect. Customers tested the pens immediately after purchase, only to find the ink sitting there plainly visible under any normal lighting. Refund requests poured in within minutes as buyers realized the entire product was a complete sham from the very start. Store owners eventually banned him from selling anywhere near their location after repeated complaints. Apparently, invisibility requires slightly more effort than a cheap marker from a discount bin. 14. Insurance fraud seemed like an easy payday for a man who faked blindness for months to collect a steady disability check. Everything unraveled spectacularly at a wedding reception when he suddenly leaped up and won the entire limbo contest without hesitation. Guests gasped, watching him bend backward gracefully under the bar while claiming total blindness on paperwork elsewhere. Someone recorded the entire moment and posted it online before the night even ended. Insurance investigators reportedly enjoyed that video more than anyone else involved. 15. Recruitment pitches flowed endlessly from a Ponzi scheme organizer determined to bring absolutely everyone he knew into his growing investment circle. Confidence never wavered, even when he decided to approach his own personal accountant with the exact same pitch used on strangers. Numbers were crunched within minutes, revealing exactly how unsustainable the entire scheme truly was from the beginning. Reporting him to authorities happened almost immediately after that awkward meeting concluded. Apparently, recruiting your own accountant defeats the entire purpose of hiding shady math. 16. Engine oil changes were confidently offered by a fake mechanic advertising services to any driver willing to pull into his makeshift garage. One customer arrived driving a fully electric vehicle, completely unaware of what was about to unfold that afternoon. Popping the hood revealed no engine whatsoever, leaving the mechanic visibly stunned and scrambling for an explanation on the spot. Customers nearby overheard the confusion and started laughing at his obvious lack of basic automotive knowledge. Electric vehicles apparently remain a mystery to certain traditional scam artists everywhere. 17. Concert tickets were sold enthusiastically outside a venue by a scammer, completely unaware the actual show had been canceled 2 days earlier. Fans lined up excitedly, handing over cash for seats to a performance that would never actually happen that night. Someone eventually mentioned the cancellation loudly enough for the entire line to hear and start demanding refunds immediately. Chaos erupted within minutes as buyers realized they had been scammed for tickets to nothing at all. Running seemed like the only remaining option left for him that evening. Dating profiles were crafted carefully by a scammer hoping to lure lonely strangers into sending money for a fake romantic relationship online. Photos borrowed from a famous celebrity appeared across the profile without any attempt at disguising the obvious source material used. Matches immediately recognized the face from movies and television shows within seconds of swiping through his profile. Screenshots spread rapidly across social media, exposing the entire scheme almost overnight. Apparently, picking an anonymous face works significantly better than picking a recognizable one. 19. Weight loss miracles were promised loudly through advertisements for a magic tea supposedly capable of melting pounds away instantly. Viewers noticed something strange almost immediately, since the man promoting the product appeared visibly overweight throughout the entire commercial himself. Comment sections filled up rapidly with people pointing out the obvious contradiction sitting right in front of them. Sales apparently continued anyway, proving desperation sometimes outweighs basic common sense for certain buyers. Nobody ever explained why the tea never seemed to work on its own creator. 20. Apartment listings looked absolutely perfect when a fake landlord posted photos pulled directly from someone else's house on Google Maps. Renters showed up excited for a walkthrough, only to find themselves standing awkwardly in a stranger's actual driveway instead. Confusion turned into anger within minutes, as everyone realized the entire listing was completely fabricated from start to finish. Police reports followed shortly after multiple victims compared notes online about the exact same scam. Apparently, real estate fraud requires slightly more effort than a simple screenshot. 21. Dollar store dolls got a spooky makeover when a seller listed them online claiming each one was genuinely haunted and worth serious money. Buyers paid extra expecting paranormal activity, only to receive toys still wearing their original discount price tags attached. Photos comparing the listing to the actual store shelf spread quickly across local buy and sell groups. Refund demands flooded his inbox within hours as the haunted backstory completely fell apart under scrutiny. Apparently, ghosts avoid merchandise that still has a barcode sticker attached. 22. Bank employee credentials were claimed confidently by a phone scammer targeting elderly residents across several neighborhoods that same week. Caller ID displayed his number saved as scam likely on nearly every phone he dialed that entire afternoon. Victims immediately grew suspicious, noticing the label before he even finished his rehearsed introduction speech. Word spread through community groups warning everyone about the obvious red flag sitting right on their screens. Apparently, technology occasionally does the scam warning work all by itself. 23. Courtroom drama unfolded quickly when a fake lawyer showed up representing a client during an actual scheduled hearing downtown. Confusion spread across the room the moment opposing counsel raised a routine objection during standard testimony that afternoon. Blank stares followed, as he had absolutely no idea what the term objection even meant legally. Judges immediately grew suspicious, watching him fumble through basic courtroom procedure everyone else understood instantly. Turns out law school apparently covers vocabulary most real attorneys already know well. 24. Bulletproof vests were advertised boldly by a salesman claiming his product could stop absolutely any bullet fired at close range. Demonstrations were arranged publicly to prove durability in front of skeptical potential buyers gathered that afternoon. A simple nail pushed straight through the vest during testing, leaving everyone watching visibly stunned and speechless. Refunds were demanded immediately as the crowd realized actual protection was never part of this product. Apparently, safety equipment requires slightly more testing than a quick sales pitch. 25. Talent agency promises poured confidently from a scammer, targeting hopeful performers looking for their big entertainment industry break. Contracts were signed enthusiastically without anyone noticing they were printed on ordinary notebook paper instead of official documents. Legal professionals later confirmed such paperwork held absolutely no real value whatsoever in any entertainment contract dispute. Victims realized far too late that their signatures meant nothing once he vanished with upfront fees collected. Apparently, legitimate representation rarely comes scribbled across spiral notebook pages. 26. Faucet repairs seemed simple enough when a handyman quoted an outrageous price for fixing a small kitchen leak that weekend. Homeowners watched confused as he wandered around the house, clearly unable to locate the water shutoff valve anywhere nearby. Minutes turned into an hour, while he stalled searching cabinets and closets for equipment he apparently never brought. Frustration boiled over as homeowners eventually called an actual plumber to finish what he never even started properly. Turns out real repairs require slightly more preparation than a confident price quote. 27. Illegal parking accusations flew wildly when a fake tow truck driver attempted hooking up a car that was parked completely legally downtown. Owner sat calmly inside the vehicle the entire time, watching the confused driver attempt his obvious scam attempt. Neighbors gathered quickly, filming the entire confrontation as the tow driver realized his mistake far too late. Police arrived within minutes after several witnesses reported the suspicious operation happening right on their street. Apparently, towing occupied vehicles tends to draw immediate unwanted attention everywhere. 28. Genuine leather jackets were advertised proudly by a street vendor selling suspiciously cheap merchandise near a busy shopping district downtown. Curious buyers gathered close while he demonstrated durability by holding a jacket sleeve dangerously near an open flame nearby. Plastic material melted instantly, creating a foul smell that spread quickly through the surrounding crowd of onlookers. Customers immediately backed away, realizing genuine leather never behaves anything like what they just witnessed happening. Apparently, real leather requires slightly better materials than cheap synthetic plastic substitutes. 29. Wedding planning promises overflowed from a planner who apparently forgot basic scheduling while juggling far too many clients simultaneously that season. 3 separate weddings arrived at the exact same venue on the exact same afternoon, completely unannounced to anyone involved. Confused brides and families collided awkwardly in the parking lot, realizing something had gone seriously wrong that day. Chaos spread through the venue as guests from different families mixed together, completely unaware of the mistake. Apparently, double booking 3 weddings requires impressively poor organizational skills. 30. Delivery uniforms looked convincing enough until neighbors noticed something oddly wrong printed across the side of his delivery truck that morning. FedEx appeared boldly painted where the real company logo should have clearly been displayed instead. Residents snapped photos immediately, sharing them across social media within minutes of spotting the obvious spelling error. Laughter spread quickly online as people realized counterfeit delivery services apparently skip basic proofreading entirely. Turns out convincing anyone requires getting the actual company name correct first. 31. Crypto excitement spread rapidly online when a developer launched his own coin, promising massive returns to eager early investors that week. Prices spiked within hours as buyers rushed to grab a piece of what seemed like guaranteed instant wealth. Everything collapsed the exact same day it launched, since he quietly cashed out his own holdings first. Investors watched helplessly as their money evaporated within minutes of the coin crashing completely to zero. Apparently, guaranteed crypto riches rarely survive contact with the person who created them. 32. Persian rug authenticity was promised loudly by a vendor selling rare imported pieces at surprisingly reasonable prices downtown. Shoppers admired intricate patterns until someone flipped a corner over, revealing a tag reading, "Made in Ohio" underneath. Laughter spread through the small crowd gathered around his display within seconds of that discovery. Refund requests followed immediately, as buyers realized their exotic purchase was manufactured much closer to home. Apparently, genuine imports rarely originate from Midwestern factory floors. 33. DJ equipment sat impressively stacked at a party, while the hired performer confidently pressed play on a phone connected to absolutely nothing. Guests eventually noticed the speakers sitting completely unplugged the entire evening, despite music playing from somewhere else entirely. Someone traced the sound directly back to a phone quietly running a regular streaming playlist the whole time. Laughter erupted once guests realized they had paid real money for someone tapping buttons randomly. Apparently, professional DJing requires slightly more effort than holding a phone. 34. Secret Service credentials were claimed boldly by a scammer approaching strangers near a government building downtown one afternoon. Questions arose quickly when someone simply asked him to explain what the agency actually does on a daily basis. Silence followed as he stumbled through vague answers that satisfied absolutely nobody standing nearby listening closely. Suspicion spread fast among witnesses, who immediately alerted actual authorities patrolling the area moments later. Apparently, impersonating federal agents requires knowing slightly more than the job title itself. 35. Puppy adoption promises spread quickly online through photos advertising adorable purebred dogs, available for immediate pickup that weekend. Excited buyers paid deposits, eagerly awaiting delivery of their new furry family member, arriving sometime that following week. Boxes arrived containing nothing but stuffed animals instead of the living puppies originally promised in every listing. Complaints flooded review sections within hours as buyers realized the entire operation was a complete sham. Apparently, stuffed animals make poor substitutes for actual living creatures. 36. Medical emergency appeals poured out through a GoFundMe page describing a desperately sick child needing urgent financial help immediately. Donations flowed steadily from sympathetic strangers, moved by the heartbreaking photo attached prominently to the entire campaign page. Someone eventually noticed a small Getty Images watermark stamped directly across the supposedly personal family photograph being used. Outrage spread quickly online as donors realized the entire campaign was built on a stolen stock image. Apparently, genuine emergencies rarely come pre-watermarked from photo agencies. 37. Remote computer access seemed easy enough for a tech support scammer calling strangers, claiming their devices were dangerously infected that afternoon. One clever victim decided to play along, pretending to grant access while secretly recording the entire interaction happening. Confusion spread quickly once the scammer realized his own information was being extracted instead of the victim's. Roles reversed entirely within minutes as the supposed victim turned the entire scam back around completely. Apparently, pretending to be helpless works both ways surprisingly well. 38. Antique authenticity was advertised proudly by a dealer selling rare historical furniture pieces at premium prices downtown that weekend. Shoppers admired supposedly centuries-old craftsmanship until someone flipped a drawer over, finding a store price tag from last week. Laughter spread quickly through the showroom as buyers realized these ancient treasures were purchased recently nearby. Refund demands followed within minutes once the obvious contradiction became impossible for anyone to ignore. Apparently, genuine antiques rarely carry recent discount store pricing stickers. 39. Celebrity impersonations seemed harmless enough until an Instagram scammer accidentally replied to his own fake account during a live stream that evening. Followers noticed the strange exchange immediately, since both accounts displayed the exact same profile picture and name simultaneously. Screenshots spread rapidly across social media, exposing the entire scheme within minutes of that embarrassing mistake happening. Comments filled with laughter as people realized he had essentially scammed himself on camera. Apparently, managing multiple fake identities requires significantly better organizational skills. 40. Real estate listings looked absolutely perfect when an agent advertised a beautiful house that happened to still be occupied by actual owners. Interested buyers scheduled a walkthrough only to find surprised residents standing confused in their own living room that afternoon. Awkward conversations followed as everyone realized the listing had been created entirely without the homeowner's knowledge or permission. Police reports followed shortly after multiple confused buyers compared notes about the exact same address. Apparently, selling someone else's occupied house tends to raise immediate suspicion everywhere. 41. Casino night promises spread quickly through the neighborhood, offering gambling excitement without proper licensing or basic honesty involved. Guests gathered eagerly, ready to test their luck against dice that appeared strangely lopsided under closer inspection. Someone rolled several times, noticing the dice consistently landing on the exact same numbers repeatedly throughout the evening. Suspicion spread fast as players compared results, realizing the entire game had been rigged from the start. Police arrived shortly after multiple complaints exposed the obvious fraud happening indoors. 42. DMV line-skipping services were advertised boldly promising exhausted customers a shortcut around hours of tedious government waiting. Desperate drivers paid extra cash expecting fast passes toward paperwork processing without standing in traditional lines. An actual DMV employee happened to be waiting in that exact same line during her own personal visit. Recognition happened instantly once she noticed the scammer collecting cash for services that simply did not exist. Arrests followed quickly after her first-hand report reached proper authorities. 43. Stimulus check assistance was advertised aggressively toward worried citizens anxious about receiving promised government financial relief payments quickly. Processing fees were requested upfront, supposedly required, before any stimulus money could possibly reach eager applicants waiting nervously. Financial experts eventually clarified that legitimate government checks never require any upfront payment whatsoever from recipients. Victims realized too late that real assistance programs simply do not operate through random cash demands. Reports flooded consumer protection agencies within days of exposure. 44. Insurance adjuster credentials were claimed confidently by a man visiting accident victims, offering fast settlement assistance after their crashes. Paperwork was handed over proudly, despite containing an embarrassing misspelling of the very word insurance throughout every single document. Victims noticed the error almost immediately since the mistake appeared repeatedly across multiple official-looking forms presented. Suspicion grew rapidly as more people compared notes about the same spelling mistake appearing everywhere. Authorities eventually traced him through that exact same clerical blunder. 45. Designer sneaker deals were advertised loudly, promising rare, exclusive footwear at prices far below normal retail expectations entirely. Excited buyers snatched pairs quickly without noticing an obvious swoosh logo stitched proudly across shoes, clearly branded Adidas instead. Photos comparing the mismatched branding spread rapidly across sneaker enthusiast forums within hours of the purchase. Refund demands poured in once buyers realized authentic sneakers never mix competing brand logos together. Apparently, counterfeit operations occasionally forget which company they are actually copying. 46. Emergency tuition requests poured out from a supposed foreign exchange student desperately needing urgent financial help from generous strangers online. Sympathetic donors contributed steadily, moved by his heartbreaking story about tuition deadlines approaching within days that semester. Vacation photos surfaced almost immediately, showing him relaxing poolside during that exact same week he claimed financial desperation. Outrage spread quickly once donors compared timestamps, realizing the obvious contradiction sitting right there. Apparently, genuine emergencies rarely include beachside cocktails during crisis moments. 47. Guaranteed investment returns were promised boldly by a self-declared guru, hosting seminars for eager attendees seeking quick financial success. Confidence never wavered until someone simply asked him to explain what stocks actually represent within basic financial markets. Blank stares followed as he fumbled through vague nonsense answers, satisfying absolutely nobody sitting in that crowded room. Attendees quietly grabbed their belongings, realizing genuine expertise was clearly missing from this entire presentation. Apparently, guaranteed returns require actually understanding the product being sold. 48. Rare baseball card collections were advertised, proudly claiming decades-old value attached to supposedly vintage sports memorabilia pieces. Collectors paid premium prices, excited about owning genuine pieces of sports history sitting in protective plastic sleeves. Someone noticed suspiciously crisp printing quality that matched exactly what a home printer produces the day before. Laughter spread quickly through collector forums once buyers realized these ancient treasures were printed barely yesterday afternoon. Apparently, genuine rarity rarely smells like fresh printer ink. 49. Raffle tickets sold quickly through a community event promising exciting prizes for lucky winners drawn randomly each round. Suspicion grew slowly after the exact same person somehow won every single prize drawn throughout the entire evening. Attendees eventually realized the organizer himself was mysteriously claiming victory during each and every drawing conducted that night. Confrontations followed quickly once the obvious pattern became impossible for anyone present to ignore any longer. Apparently, rigged raffles require slightly better acting than repeatedly winning everything yourself. And that's 49 scams so dumb, they basically arrested themselves. Honestly, at this point the FBI should just retire and let karma handle it. If any of these had you laughing, wheezing, or yelling at your screen, smash that like button, subscribe to BrainFumble, and hit the notification bell so you never miss the next disaster. Share this with someone who still thinks they're smarter than a guy taping a solo cup to his dashboard. Now drop a comment telling me which scam was the dumbest one of all.